the one thing that I can tell you is never give up and don't quit ever.
Have you ever been burned before?
Yeah, I have. It's part of it's part of being an entrepreneur, raising capital.
Do you have a specific approach to networking that you prefer or that you like?
It's a good question because me, as going into meetups, as it is, I'm very shy, right?
How do you manage risk and the uncertainty of being an entrepreneur and actually doing deals?
That is a very good question. To manage the risk tolerance that you have, it comes with experience and taking action.
Welcome to episode 1 of the Wannabe Investors podcast. I'm co-host Mark Stevens. Today we've got a great show for you. We interview our friend Gerardo about his journey from an entrepreneur to a full-time investor. Let's pick up the conversation.
My name is Gerardo. I'm from Guanajuato, Mexico. I came to North America back in '84. I've been in the industry as far as a manager for corporate America for a few years, but then in 2007, that's when I ventured to be an entrepreneur, all kinds of business ventures. And here I am now getting into the real estate investor world, which I've been doing since 2019. So it's, everything's moving forward smoothly, and I'm here with you guys.
So what led you to be an entrepreneur? What got you going down that avenue, and what did you do before that?
Yeah, what led me into the entrepreneurial world was knowing that there's a better way to earn income, as we all look for, the passive income, the freedom, getting back your time. But when I was in corporate America, I found out that you're only working for somebody else's dream. And, a lot of the people still have the blindfold, with the dream of getting more money in the end and climbing the corporate ladder.
And my question is, what in that whole process of things changed your mind? Like, where was the shift? Was it an event that happened? Somebody said something? Like, how did that come to be?
The shift in that was back in '98. I was going for my master's as an architect, and I was paying for my schooling, back in Cerritos, college, because that's where I was, that's where I grew up in California, Norwalk, California. And when I was looking for assistance and help from the teacher, I found out that the teacher was a doctor. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm paying for this course. Why is this doctor teaching architecture? So to me, that was like, okay, there's something wrong here. There has to be some kind of, of guidance and rules where if you're going to be teaching architecture, someone that has the specialized knowledge of that to teach the class. And when I found out that this, teacher was a doctor, I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. So I started looking for other opportunities, but, moving forward, that took a while to learn, because my mind wasn't all in business. It was more of how can I get ahead and how can I make more money and start my own business gradually, right? Because that's, eventually that's the American dream. Everybody has to have a business.
Absolutely. And did you have any family members that were entrepreneurs or anybody that you looked up to?
I found out my parents, they were hustlers back in Mexico, where I grew up in, where I was born and grew up for 4 years. They were hustlers as far as having their own stores, import, export, with clothing, products, goods that they will sell, in the town where we live. So knowing the bloodline of the family that they were, entrepreneurs, that's something that I caught on to after the fact.
And did all your other siblings realize this, what you've realized as far as mindset shift and becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's very interesting because from what I found out, my brother, one of my brothers, the one that I currently talk to right now, they gave them a business and he ran it to the ground, when he was younger, And I understand that because when I was younger, I was all about partying, typical partying, college, go to the bars, go to the clubs. And in Mexico, it's the same thing. I mean, nothing changes. The only thing that changes is the culture and the way you do things, right? But when he was given the opportunity to run a business that my parents built, he ran it to the ground because of the partying. But Yeah. So.
Okay.
All right. Do you have any specific practices or routines that you stick to? That
Absolutely. I read every day, even if it's 5-10 minutes. I read. I do not watch TV. I haven't watched TV for probably, I would say, a good 10-11 years. My wife, she's the only one that watches TV, right? And I watch it with her once in a while just to spend time with her, while she watches TV. But when I'm out and about doing business, I keep myself occupied with reading and sticking to the affirmations and doing short goals, midterm and long-term goals, because that's you have to as an entrepreneur. It's very hard because you have to reach those goals gradually, one step at a time. You cannot just go for a big goal and then expect it for it to come along.
And with that being said, how does your wife support you on your entrepreneurial journey? And has there been any type of negative effects being, you giving so much time to, your business and stuff like that?
Of course, yeah. There's always a repercussion, because you want to do better for your family, for your life, for the whole, for your family, pretty much, right, and your loved ones. And sometimes it's a challenge because, like you said, the time is spent working on a business that's going to give you more freedom in the end result, right? But in the beginning, the front end, that's where a lot of the time is consumed. And with the wife, when I explain to her what's going on, as long as I communicate with her and she's okay, then we're good. But there are times where it gets very frustrating because the time that we spend together is not there. I'm out and about, networking, raising capital, trying to diversify the income that we have, right? So it's challenging, but communication is very key.
Yeah, and I have another question on that. For all the viewers, maybe fearful of taking their first steps into investing, how do you manage risk and the uncertainty of being an entrepreneur and actually doing deals?
That is a very good question. To manage the risk tolerance that you have, it comes with experience and taking action. A lot of the times, you're thinking, okay, if I do this, then, you want to look at the worst case scenario, best case scenario, and you hope for the best case scenario, correct? But if it comes out wrong, you want to take it as a learning experience. What went wrong, you want to reverse engineer what happened, where was the fault, but then learn from that so you can do it better the next time.
Exactly. And what would you tell the viewers that are having this obstacle of fear that are, keeping them from, taking their first step into investing or taking a bet on themselves?
That's very scary because you're losing money. No matter what business you do in the beginning, you're going to lose money. It could be in marketing. It could be doing something on your own as far as, trying to raise capital. And when you raise capital, again, it goes back to you're taking care of somebody else's money, right? But back to your question, to take that risk is just something that it's going to have to be inevitable. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to take that risk because if you don't do it, you're never going to get there and you're never going to experience the type of risk tolerance you can take. Now, like I said, risk tolerance in your mind, it comes gradually as you progress to do more businesses and to network, and you want to have a peace of mind and have a sound mind of what you want to do. Make it clear, crystal clear.
Yeah. And I have another question. Sorry, Mark.
No, you're good. Keep going. Keep it rolling.
I know you probably experienced failures just like all of us as entrepreneurs or investors and deals and stuff like that. How do you overcome that and not let that failure be the last bet that you take on yourself and just stop? How do you overcome that and continue on?
That is one of the things as an entrepreneur. The risk is going to happen. The failure is going to happen. The money loss is going to happen. It's just the amount of money that you're able to withstand and to know that money, if it goes wrong, it's going to be lost, right? Mm-hmm. So if somebody has like $10,000 is a lot of money for somebody, right? Even $1,000 is a lot of money for somebody. And when you do a marketing campaign, say for example, you spend $1,000 and it doesn't work out, well then you just lost $1,000. But when you go into bigger endeavors that are upwards in 20, 30,000, you have to look at the risk, and if you're able to withstand the risk tolerance dollar-wise that you have, then that's something that you can say, okay, I'm going to take this big risk. The 30,000 is going to make me 120 grand. But if I lose it, then I'm out 30,000. So that risk tolerance is going to come with experience and taking action the first. And like I said, you want to start small, right? When you do it on your own, but when you have a group and you have a team that's backing you up, that is the best thing that can happen, because now you're collaborating with other people that have the same goal in mind to move forward.
And how do you internalize that failure, that loss, and how do you learn from it? Like, what do you take from that loss, and how do you carry it over?
The way you internalize it, it's it does hurt. I mean, even if you lose $1, right? It's like, gosh, I just lost $1 somehow, right?
30,000. Now I'm like, oh my God, I don't know.
Right. But when it comes to big money, when you internalize it, again, it goes back to, what did I do wrong? What was the step that failed? I mean, because there's a lot of variables when something goes wrong. You just have to have that risk tolerance. Again, it goes back to having that experience, knowing that you're going to lose that money if it goes wrong. But if it goes good, you can capitalize. It could be 1%, 2%, 3%, no matter the percentage. But if it capitalizes, that's good, right? Because you learn something, you learn how to do it, and you can repeat that process to, reinvest the money. But if you don't, at least you have that mindset that, I just lost the money and let's make it better next time.
What type of role do you think having a positive mindset plays in your success as an investor? Because obviously that's something that is easy for some people and harder for others. And I feel like for the people out there who may be listening, keeping a positive mindset might not be the easiest thing. So what kind of role has that played for you as an investor?
As an investor, as a positive mind, you have to protect your mind, and you have to get knowledge first, right? You have to learn of what you want to do, the process that's going to take for you to do it. For example, if you want to do a product, import, export, you have to know how that works. How much is going to cost to import something, and then if you're going to export it somewhere, you have to know what the cost is for that. Once you find that cost for that specific market industry that you're going to be doing, then that's going to give you kind of like a picture of what you need to do. And then again, it goes back to, if you have that tolerance to take a loss, then you at least what you can expect the worst way. But in the end, it goes back to, again, if you look at a positive way and you want to protect your mind with a good mindset, you want to know all the knowledge that you can about what you're going to do, knowing the risk factor. And then furthermore, with the mindset that you have, it has to be mentally strong, because some of the people just look at the dollar sign and the process from A to C. But if you don't know A, B, C, D, E, then something's going to fail, and then that can break somebody's person's mindset, because you thought you had everything right, and then in the end, like, oh my gosh, what happened? This failed. I followed the steps, but what did I miss? So the mindset is very, very key. And again, it's with taking action first and foremost. And one of the things is just getting the wisdom and experience.
And how do you preserve your mindset? Is there any tricks or techniques or stuff that you do on a daily basis to try to preserve that, affirmations or whatever?
Yeah, I read my affirmations at least twice, 3 times a day. And then again, it goes with, who you hang around with. That's very, very key, because, and like you said earlier, Patrick, your mind shift when it clicks, when you're trying to do an entrepreneurial endeavor, you want to hang around the right people that have the same goal in mind, whether it could be, service industry, real estate industry, whatever the kind of industry it is. The same mindset is going to be, think about it as a mastermind. Everybody's thinking for how to be better, how to collaborate, how to get ideas. Look, we could do it this way. Let's try it this way. But hanging around with the right people is going to give you that little push that you need to be confident and be positive about the outcome that you're going to be getting.
We like to try to focus on failures. It's easy to sit here and celebrate everyone's successes. Yeah. And right. I feel like you don't learn as much from success as you do from failure. And I feel like in my experience anyway, there's sometimes that I've failed where I've said, okay, that's one thing, like I'm never ever going to have that happen again. Can you tell us about anything or any experiences you've had along the way where there was some sort of failure or something messed up and you said, you know what, that's it. I'm never going to let that happen again.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I had a lot of failures when I started back in 2007, especially with my first business was multi-level marketing with a company, and I took advantage of it because it took me 5 years to change my whole mindset from where I was at back in 2007. And all the failures that I have, I could give you an example. I was driving from because I live in Vegas. I was driving from Vegas to do a home showing or a home meetup over there for the business, and I was driving to Bakersfield. On my way up there, the car broke down. Like literally, like it broke down. I only had like $150 in my pocket. Car broke down in the middle of the freeway. The engine blew. I mean, it was crazy. It was a lot of fun. It was an experience. And for somebody that doesn't have any any money, like wow, now what? The engine back then it was like 1,005, whatever the case may be, right? Dollar amount. But you're thinking, okay, I'm doing this to be better, to get a better lifestyle. But then there's failure happen. I mean, and it happens in the least amount of time or in the least time expected, right? Because you're thinking, okay, everything's going smooth, and then this happens to you, and it sets you back. So instead of going 2 steps forward, you go 4 back, right? And that experience, I'm like, okay, I just drove from Vegas to almost, I was maybe like 10 minutes away from Barstow, and I was like, okay, the engine blew out. What do I do next? I had friends, but I mean, my friends were at work and they couldn't get out till probably the day after. I'm like, all right, so what that right there alone, just going through that experience, the car broke down. Everybody, it happens to everybody. But when that alone sets you back another 2,000 and you don't have money, you're like, okay, I know my job is not going to give me 2,000 a week, just to fix the car, right? That's probably one a month's payday right there. And so that right there that's where you have to be mentally strong to move forward and to continue. Because if you don't, then that failure is going to set you back even more, and you're going to think, now, okay, I had this failure. If I do it again, it's going to happen again. But you're taking uh, a higher risk of walking on eggshells, if you will, right? Because you already had a bad experience. So that's one of them that I had. That was, but it was fun. I mean, it's my mindset is very. Since I started, I can say from being in management. Back then, they call it tough skin, or because you had to deal with a lot of firing, hiring, making sure the KPIs for the company is correct. So mentally strong, I was already there, but emotionally, that's what breaks everybody down because this happens, and then I'm out on a loss, right?
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on what because Jerry was, I guess, a mentee, or yeah, I would say a mentee of Jim Rohn
Yeah.
when he was doing his multi-level marketing, and I just want to like touch on that and what he learned from Jim Rohn, because not a lot of people get to be spoken to by him. So
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. Bless his soul. He's out there already. But when I had the time with him, very humble. Very just the humbleness. You feel the energy. You feel the positive energy. And when I was with him, when I was in multi-level marketing, you know, everything that we did was always to look for the best interest of the other person, of the family. Don't look at that person as a number, because everybody, every business, no matter what kind it is, the first thing you're going to look at is going to be looking at that person as a number. What are they going to produce? What kind of numbers are they going to produce? How is that going to benefit to our business? But the biggest thing is help them as a person individually, emotionally, and get to the bottom of knowing their personality, because everybody has a different personality, and personalities goes a long way. Some of them are weak, some of them are tough, some want to do things, some don't want to do other things. So it's like a big kindergarten for adults, right? Because everybody has different ideas, and I can do this better if you let me do this. And sometimes the way they do that stuff, sometimes it doesn't work because there's a system already in place, right? And but going back to the experience with Jim Rome, it was just that. It was very phenomenal because it was more about helping that person succeed and make them flourish to what they wanted to do in life.
basically providing value to other people and getting that in return in some way, shape, or form.
And yeah, and more of a connection with partnership, not looking at a person in numbers, because everybody, all the businesses that I try to do, everybody was looking at everybody as numbers. Okay, well, what are you going to bring to the table? And, nowadays with the technology that we have, you can learn everything very, very easy. But again, it goes back to getting that rapport, getting that energy, that feel of that person, how you can help them and help, they'll help you in return in the long run.
Yeah, and just to touch on something that you said about partners, I put posts and stuff sometimes, and people see it and they're like, they want to take from me, but they don't add value to me, and I'm always trying to help them, but I mean, it opens the door more when you add the value and give value to somebody instead of saying, well, can you give me this information? Can you give me this information? You're getting the same thing from like 50 plus people. But have you had partners, and how have those experiences gone for you? Have you had ones go south, ones go positive, or all of them been bad? Or have you
Oh,
found?
absolutely. You get a mix of variety of everything. You get some that you give them your all the time that they need, and they don't do anything. And there's a point where you're going to find out, okay, I already provided everything that they needed. We try to help them, and they don't want to do anything. They just sit still, right? And then there's others that will want to do something, but then life happens, right? And then there's others that are just go getters, action takers, and then they stumble upon other dilemmas or problems, and then you have to help, pretty much knowing which one's going to be more beneficial to begin with, to help them and make them succeed fast. And then you can always go back to the ones that don't want to do anything. And if they don't want to do anything, then it's going to be something that you just got to be front and frugal with them and say, look, we've been helping you out. We want to, help you in a way where you can elevate yourself, be confident, have the positive attitude, move forward. And that we've always been here to back you up, right? And then sometimes when they don't do that, then that's when you say, okay, this is where, when you really want to do that, come back to me, and then we'll help you out. But you never want to say, okay, I'm not going to help you out anymore, because that's what happened to me at one point. When I was growing my MLM business, they're like, you're always having an excuse. You're always doing this. We're not going to help you out anymore. So when they tell you that, in a way, that kind of makes you feel, even though you don't do anything, that kind of makes you feel like, oh my gosh, they just, squash your emotions, right? So it's the wording and how you say it to somebody to make them realize, look, we're always going to be here for you. When you're ready, just come back and connect, and we can proceed.
You mentioned that networking is one of the things that you do, and as an entrepreneur, that's something that we should always be working on. Do you have a specific approach to networking that you prefer or that you like?
Yeah, that's a very great question. It's a good question, because me, as going into meetups, as it is, I'm very shy, right? I'm super shy. So when I go to a meetup, I just say, hi, how's it going? And that's it, right? My name is Jerry or Gerardo, and I move on, right? I just want to meet everybody. But what I've learned with meetups, as you progress with what the goal you have. For example, right now I'm trying to raise capital for a big project. I know I have to talk to people, and I have to put myself out there, but I have to be confident as well. I have to introduce myself. Hey, my name is Jerry. I'm an investor. This is what I'm looking for. I'm raising capital. But somebody that's barely starting is very shy. Mm-hmm. Just by saying hi and my name is, introduce yourself, simple stuff, easy, right? Because that's going to break you out of your shell of being shy, to where it's going to give you more confidence, and you're going to get to know other people and what they do, possibly to help you out to your goal or endeavor that you have.
Yeah, and I can I can relate with that, because I have, kind of severe stage fright, and I'm now doing a podcast, putting myself out there and taking imperfect action. So that's a big, huge step for me. Like, I don't even know how I'm doing it right now, but I just said I'm going forward and just growing, because you don't grow in comfortable situations. You grow in uncomfortable situations. So this is uncomfortable for me, but look, I'm doing it, and everybody that's watching, they can also do the same thing with investing, anything that they want to start. So I also want to touch base on your fundraising. How do you how do you do that, and what are strategies you know implement to get that money? Because there's a lot of people out there that want to do investing, probably find a house, but they just don't have the money, and they need to figure out how to raise that.
Real quick, and what kind of things are you raising funds for? Just so our listeners know what you're trying to do and how you're doing it.
Yes, both of them are very amazing questions. So the first thing to raise the capital, you have to, one, be transparent, be truthful, and you want to trust that person. That's what they call vetting nowadays, right? You have to make sure that everything is good to go as far as what kind of morals they have, because there's a lot of people that have been burnt by raising capital and they use it for other stuff, right? They say, oh, I'm going to use it for land development and I'm going to do a multifamily or whatever the case may be, 20, 30, 50 units. But then some of them use that for another deal that they're about to close, and they're thinking, okay, I close this deal, whatever money I get from this deal is going to roll over to the other one and I should be okay. But sometimes that doesn't work. But the main thing about raising capital is having the trust with the person that you are talking to. And it doesn't happen just in one day. It happens, it happens in a certain amount of time. It could be 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, depending on the deal that you're going to be raising capital for. If it's something that's going to be very, very huge, like what I'm doing now, I'm looking probably about a good 7 months out for me to have that good established relationship with the people that I'm talking to. And, communication back and forth. Hey, this is what's going on. Let's look at this together. Let's collaborate. What can we do how can we do it to make it more exciting for everybody to get a ROI on the investment, right? So raising capital is very, very important, and it's one of the things that I think everybody should learn how to do it. But the biggest thing is, again, the relationship, the transparency, and more importantly is the trust.
Yeah. And what projects are you trying to fund, and how much are you trying to look for? I don't know if you could say that, but if you can, I mean, maybe listeners would like to help.
I cannot disclose a whole lot about the project, but I know numbers wise, one is going to be about 2 billion that I'm working on right now.
Just
That's
two?
Just small 2 billion. That's
Okay.
all, So, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can raise capital. I'm learning about the EB5 funding that you could do, but they have to be, funded through international investors. And that's another whole topic. And, of course, the hedge funding, corporate family hedge funding. So those connections are going to be very crucial because, again, when you get into a big project like this, you want to make sure that there's a good ROI when it's all completed.
Yeah. And I think it's worth mentioning for our listeners that even when you're talking about numbers like $2 billion, most investors aren't using their own money, or most entrepreneurs aren't using their own money. Like raising funds from other people is a way of life in this industry and in this world of investing. It's not. I feel like people always think that they have to have every dollar up front, and you don't necessarily have to have it every dollar yourself. You can go to other people for big plans, and people like to work together and collaborate. That's how big deals are done, whether they're finding a few friends to pair up with on a flip or bringing some institutional investors together to raise up 2 billion, or one institutional investor for that matter. But have you taken outside investment for any of your own projects in the past?
In the past, it was all my own money. Mm-hmm. And that's the toughest thing, like you said, because I don't know anything about, and the sense of raising capital until I started getting more in depth how to get bigger projects moving and get raise the capital for the funding of the project, right? But the other investments that I did was just all through my own capital. I had, a few streams of income coming in from different sides, so I was able to, get the capital, let it grow, and then invest it on myself, right? But now with the way, like you said, Mark, raising capital could be from other investors, other companies, which is a beautiful thing. It's just the biggest thing with that, again, it comes back to the trust and the relationship that you build with that person. And yeah, absolutely, you can raise a lot of money with nothing out of your pocket, right? That's just the biggest thing is a relationship, and make sure that the trust is there, the transparency is there, and for it to be, frugal for everybody to get a good investment on return on that.
And with that, I mean, have you ever been burned before? Whether you're lending out money or
Yeah, I have. You know, it's part of it's part of being an entrepreneur, raising capital, being you know, lending the money. So, and like one of the stories, there's again, this was back in 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. I came across this person that needed money to proceed with his business. So I'm thinking, okay, if I lend him money, and based on the percentage that we come in contract, I'll double triple my money. And this particular person, he was a small business owner that sold smocks for the salons,
oh,
right? So I sat down with him and we discussed. You know, we got to meet each other. Very cool guy. He said, okay, I need, at the end of the discussion, the meeting, we were, you know, he's like, I need maybe about $2,500. You know, $2,500 is not a whole lot of money, right? And I said, okay, you know, $2,500. So what do you do? You know, how are you going to make this money double, triple? And he goes, well, I could sell the smokes and I can make $1,000 a day. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me! Like, no, for real, I could do this. I said, okay, before we actually sit down and I lend you the money and, you know, fund your business, show me with the inventory that you have that you can make 1,000 a day. And sure enough, you know, the following day we went. He took me around town, and at the end of the day, by, you know, 5:30, 6 o'clock, he had $1,020 in his pocket. And I was there with him. You know, he was a hustler.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. You know, even if he has 2 3 days that are bad, he's still making about, you know, $3,500 $3,000 a week, which is not bad, right? And then at the end of the month, the money that I lend him, you know, we just split it, because it was a 50-50 split on profits. So if he made 15 grand, it would be 7.5 for me and 7.5 for him, right? And
Yeah.
he agreed to that. So we did the contract. And yeah, along that business endeavor, I was like, cool. I was keeping track, and within the fourth month, I kind of estimated somewhere around 70,000 to 80,000 profit. And I was going to go ahead and audit his business. And I was like, okay. So I called him up. I go, hey, let's get together. I want to audit your business, see where we're at, see what kind of profits we have. And he's like, yeah, sure, not a problem. But I noticed in his voice he was kind of nervous. So I was like, okay, you know, maybe he's going through some family problem. You know, I don't know. We sat down and yeah, we were talking. Sure enough, he's like, hey, Jerry, you know, I got to tell you something. I'm like, okay, what's going on? He's like, well, the profits that we made, I lost them all. I was like, how did you do that? He's like, well, I gambled it all.
Oh
Like,
no.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. He's like,
we're, yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know how much money we could have had to like continue this business, to expand it. But I told, you know, my experience on that was like, I thought about it, and it goes back to the first question: how do you build that risk tolerance, right? I said to myself, okay, so I spend 2,500 for an investment that could get, potentially it could have gave me, you know, 80 grand, 80,000, and all the work that he did it. I didn't do anything. I just, you know, kept on monitoring, you know, the forecast and auditing his business. And when it came down to that time for me to at least take 10% of the profits, because that's what I do. I whenever I make profits, I take 10% off of that money and I put it on my own personal account, and the rest I keep it there to reinvest in the business, right?
Yeah.
And I said to myself, okay, so I just lost 2,500. Okay, not a big deal, but potentially I lost 80 grand, but my initial cost was 2,500. And that's what you got to look at, your initial cost. And it goes back again to, if you have a business that you're going to be investing 50,000, you have to know the risk tolerance of that money could be possibly gone. Where it goes two ways. You could lose the 50 grand, or you can make X amount of dollars that you're looking to make on that one particular business.
Got it. And you didn't call out the henchmen to break kneecaps on that?
No, I don't believe in any of that stuff. You know, I mean, like I said, I grew up when I was in LA over there in Norwalk. I was around with the bad people, and yeah, it's never fun, never fun. So, But yeah, that's one of the experiences. I mean, I have lots of them, but that's what business is, entrepreneurial.
Yeah, but there was nothing, no type of regret from that guy and what he did, and he didn't want to try to pay back that 2,500 in some way, shape, or form, because he still was able to make 1,000 a day or a week with that business, right?
Right, the possibility could have been there, but I just say, it goes back to trusting that person. If he would have been transparent to me, like, I'm a gambler, I'm trying to get away from it, then that would have made me rethink to invest the 2,500 in the beginning, because you don't want to ever invest with somebody that has a habit, especially when it's a gambling habit or a bad habit.
It's kind of ironic that happens with a gambler, because as an entrepreneur, I always think of myself as a gambler. Anyway, like, we're just taking different gambles. It's just it's got a different name.
No, very true, and I agree with you, Mark. Because when you do investments in businesses and you do endeavors, raising capital, it's always a gamble, right? You're taking a calculated risk on the gamble. That's pretty much what it boils down to, because you already got your percentage of what forecast you want to get as far as the money in return. But the gamble is always going to be there. And again, it goes back to the risk tolerance that your mind can handle, that you can handle emotionally, based on the money that you're going to be investing.
Well, what's one skill set that you think would be beneficial to somebody who's starting out? Something along the lines like talking to people or getting used to rejection. Like, what's one skill set somebody should start building now so they can see the benefits from it in 2, 3, 5 years down the road?
The one that everybody goes through, and this again goes to your personal risk tolerance or your personal emotional, how you feel about it. Don't ever give up. You're going to go through a lot of no's, a lot of no's, a lot of no's, a lot of no's. No, 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 no. This isn't a no. No, you're going to go through all that all the time. And when you're feeling confident and positive, and somebody comes along and tells you no, get over that. That's just the way. So it might not be the right time. It might not be right for them. But somebody that's starting and to be confident, just believe in your idea. Stick with that belief. No matter what it is, it could be as simple as selling a product that you could make $5 on. But if you believe in your idea and in your business, and then if you have a good process of how it's going to work, believe in it, and somebody's going to believe in you, and therefore you're going to find the right people that's going to help you succeed in that business.
As an investor, how do you handle criticism or negative feedback? Is that something that you've experienced?
All the time, and sometimes when it comes to that negative feedback, just let it roll off your back, because nobody knows exactly, how can I say this in a word that, or in a way that it'll be beneficial for everybody. If you have an investment that you want to do, and you have negative feedback, it's never going to work, he's not going to be successful in it, this is not going to be successful, this product is going to fail, whatever the case may be, just stick to your belief, because your belief is the one thing that's going to keep you moving forward in a positive way. Whereas if you let the negative feedback get to you, then emotionally, internally, it's gonna crush you, because you're listening to the naysayers that might have a better idea, but how come they're not doing it if their idea is better than yours?
Right.
Yeah. So it always boils down to that. If they have a better idea than yours, how come they're not implementing it?
Yeah.
Right. So always stick to your own belief. Always stick to your product and philosophy of how this process is going to work. Yes, you're going to come across bumps in the road that you're going to have to readjust how the process is going to be better and smoother, right? But that's the process of owning a business, being an entrepreneur, and having that belief of success.
And have you ever experienced any type of burnout or even like the urge to quit?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's important for our listeners to understand too. Like, the path to success is not a straight line. It's a bumpy, rocky road. You just got to hang in there. You got to keep doing it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Mark. And with that in mind, there's always a plateau. It's a flat line. A good example, like right now that I'm investing in real estate. Everybody right now is still stuck on the high price, and they don't want to negotiate. This is what I want. Period. Right. And real estate, that's a plateau, right? Like right now, I'm not an expert in real estate yet, as far as what the numbers are, but from what I've been seeing, when I do an investment in real estate since a year ago, that's where they're at. They're still stuck in 2022, right?
Yeah.
And that's a plateau because everybody's having a problem. Okay, you got these homeowners are asking for a ridiculous price that it's unrealistic, and even harmony lenders right now, they're depending on the market or what uh, investment industry you're going to be doing. For example, commercial, which is commercial buildings, like businesses, or multifamily. Sometimes the interest rate is very high, and even that amount of debt is super expensive to get, right? So that plateau is always going to be there. Then to overcome that, you have to kind of think outside the box. What can I do to make it better? Certain situations, all you have to do is just let it wait and learn more, get more educated on what can be done next once that plateau starts to break, reduce or climb up.
Yeah, and I have a story just personal for me. I mean, I was doing wholesaling, and at the fifth month, I still hadn't gotten a wholesale deal, and I was very discouraged. Probably was feeling like quitting, and I was about to quit actually. And I just remembered why I started doing this whole thing, and even after that, I got to the eighth month, and that's when I finally got my first wholesale deal. So I've had people tell me, yeah, I've been doing this for 5 months, but I haven't gotten anything. I don't know exactly what their work ethic is or what they're doing, but I mean, you have to really figure out if skip tracing is good quality and stuff like that. That was a problem for me that I figured out only later on. But yeah, they have to stay in there and continue on until they get something. It'll come.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you have resources for like maintaining your mindset and stuff like that? Like books, possibly, or blogs, or anything like that that helps you or aids you in that?
A few people that I follow in the stock market sector and the real estate sector and personal development, which is your mind, the emotions, and what I do. Like I said, I just read the three books that I read every day, every year, no matter what. I go page by page. It's how to win friends and influence people. That's one. The other one is Think and Grow Rich, and the other one that I always go back and read is the Millionaire Mind. That tells you how to have that mindset, you know. And like Patrick, like you said, when the shift started to become as an investor, entrepreneur, diversify your income, get the freedom, is you're struggling with the way your mind thinks because you find something that piques your interest and your desires to learn, to move forward, be positive, be confident to make it work, right? But when you start doing that kind of stuff, sometimes it stops you because you come to find out, I've been following the process, but it's not producing what I want to do. In other words, I get stopped. I do this and it comes back the other way around. So you go back to your mindset and you're like, okay, for example, and I'm going to give you my the way I was thinking about it when I became an entrepreneur. Back in 2007, when I was introduced to this multi-level marketing, all I knew is how to work for somebody, for a company. You apply, you put your resume, very stellar, you do a great job, but that's all you do, right? And then our mind is so trained, it's kind of like a brainwash for you to go back to what you know and step outside the unknown to be a better person, to get a better career, to get a better business, to be better in life, to have more money, right? Because especially nowadays, there's a lot of ways you can make money, tons of ways you can make money. The money's out there. It's just knowing and taking that step to make it work, the risk. Because a lot of people, that's the one thing that holds them is the mindset and the risk. Because if you're not a risk taker, you're never going to take that chance to see what happens. If you never take that chance to see what happens, you're not going to get the experience. And if you don't get the experience, the wisdom is not going to be there to how to make it better. So it all comes down to, kind of knowing and learning more about what you want to do. So, for example, if I want to be, if like right now, and I'm not good at this, but if you want to do an app, right, like for the phone or the iPhone, people make apps all the time, and they could get paid, right, when somebody downloads it or pays for it. So that's one thing that you could do, but you have to learn how to make the app, how to create it, and the only way to do that is to start learning and how to create that app, right? So, it's always a process of what interest you have as far as what business you want to go into, and just take the risk and take the step to do it, and that way you learn about it.
Right, and every time you do that, you get better and better. Correct. And you're not going to be good on your first time. It's a skill that's built over time. It's like a muscle that you have to continue working to get that strength and get Correct. That resiliency built up, if that's a word.
No, I agree, Mark. And see, like for example, behind me, you see a lot of Hot Wheels, a lot of cars, because that's what I did. In 2017, 2016, I would buy a car, fix it, and flip it, and that's good money. But then again, the difference is not a whole lot. Unless you get like a limited edition car or you get something that's going to be very valuable. But then when it comes to that point, you're spending, again, a lot of money into that car. And then to put it on the market and market that car, it takes, anywhere from 3 to 4 months. So you're having inventory set for a while. So it's a tougher market. But, that's one of the things that I did. And yeah, I tried it and it gave me good money. But did I have a system in place? I did not, right? Look at Carvana, right? The way they implemented everything virtually. Who ever thought you could buy a car virtual, right?
Right. And that flipping cars is probably something, that you, it's like something that will have parallels to other industries and other businesses. So you learn something from that you then take with you. So you start getting all these little building blocks, and before you know it, you have a little bit of the right skills in 10 different areas, and you've put together a well-rounded individual that can have success as an entrepreneur.
Right. The one thing I learned from that business was relationship, building that relationship a little bit more, because every time you do something, your relationship skill building is always going to be there, no matter what horrible thing happened or what success. The relationship building is always going to be there as far as making that rapport and have something in common, right? And we all know we're all grown up, right? We have our emotions. If you find something that's not going to be in common, then it's going to make you think, okay, we're okay, we're cool, but we have nothing in common. Nice to meet you. If something does come across that we have something in common, then we can go ahead and move forward with, with whatever endeavor you want to do. If, that's something that you like, whatever that could be.
Yeah. I had a couple things to say to the viewers and stuff like that about taking action. I mean, a lot of people watching are probably analytical, and they, stuck in that analysis paralysis and just too fearful of taking their first steps into, investing. But sometimes I would say to them, maybe find a partner that is more like, for instance, I'll give credit where credit's due. Brian, he's a lot more trigger happy than I am. And when it comes to, taking action and doing a deal, and I'm more analytical. I would say that maybe if I didn't have Brian, it would have took me a lot longer to do something than me having him. You know what I mean? So if people out there are hesitant on, doing a deal or taking action, maybe find a partner that is a visionary, or if you're an integrator or whatnot, and, combine the two and actually start moving forward with somebody that is on or aligned with the same path as you. Because for me, when I first started, I kind of went the long way around. I was working at Home Depot pushing carts. And one day it was summer and I was pushing carts, and I I was like, what am I doing, man? Like, this is not going to be me. So I kind of went the long way around, but I got an education. I became a dental hygienist, and I used the money from being a dental hygienist to get my first primary house, and then two turnkey rentals. And that's how I got myself into real estate. But, some people probably say I could have done it faster, doing it a different way. But, back then I really didn't know how to go about these type of things. You know what I mean? So I just created a kind of a fallback for myself. If investing didn't work out, I still have something that's producing, or that I can make a good income from, and take that money and invest it. So I just want to focus on that and how other people can take action.
Yeah. So Jerry, are you a full-time investor now? Is that basically what you do now? You find ways to, or find places to put your money and let your money go to work? Are you actively working, doing anything else?
Nope, just full-time investor. Full-time investor, yeah, real estate, venture capitalists. I like to help small business owners if it makes sense. That's the one thing, like I said earlier, and everybody has a dream, everybody has a product, everybody has something, but when you go and do that business, it has to make sense. It has to make sense for it to be, and have a plan of action or the process how you can make your money on return. Because you think about it, for every, to keep the math simple, for every $100 you want to spend, you want to make back at least $300 to $400. That we can have anywhere from $200 to $300 profit, right, on a small scale. So you have to think about, how you can make that money double, triple. It can be done. It's more challenging nowadays because everybody, like I said, everybody has the technology in their fingertips and the knowledge of how to make it work, right?
Right. And how are you finding deals? Are you actively out there looking for them, or do you kind of let them come to you? How does that work?
Both ways. I mean, my strategy is both ways. I'm out there looking because, if I stay at home or do something, I get bored. I'm an action taker. I like to go see things. I like to go meet people. I like to do things. And as well, when I meet people, hey, if you have anything that's, coming down your line, if you can't, if you need help or if you need somebody to look at it, if we partnership, send it down my way. We'll look at it together and make something work. So you're getting off-market deals at times that are very profitable. And the ones that are on market are the ones that I go and I look at and talk to the people, especially in the only meetups that I go to are investor meetups. Because I used to go to every kind of meetup that was real estate, multifamily, networking, you name it. I was there because I wanted to see and meet people what they had going on as far as here in Vegas, right? Now, expanding to other markets, it's very doable, but you have to have one big process already running smooth. For example, I have an idea that I want to do, and I just have to implement my LLC, get my business account, and purchase a property and let it go with that idea that I have, right? If that idea works, let it run on autopilot, then I can move on to another market. I can move on to Texas, to Oregon, to Utah, California, and make it, just duplicate it, right? So you create the system, you create the process. It's on autopilot. It's cash flowing. It's giving you a return on investment. And then once that's it, you just go and repeat it somewhere else, right? And that's how you're going to be tripling your income.
That's cool. So what are the type of things that you're looking for right now? You said you're looking at real estate stuff. Are you looking at specific type of deals, looking to buy deals cash? Like what are the things that you're looking for today?
My criteria is very, very strict, and they're out there. It's just, again, it's the patience, the risk tolerance, and, the timeline, right? Everybody wants everything done like next day, in a week, in a month, 2 months. I could wait for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, but what I'm looking for is no renovations, turnkey, big land, good plot, good style of home, single family. That's all I'm very focused on right now. And anything upwards in the $2 million, $3 million.
And in that Vegas market?
Yeah.
So Vegas, Henderson.
Yeah. Preferably close to the strip because, what I have planned, it's going to be, hopefully, then this is my risk tolerance. If I lose the 2-3 million on the property that I buy, then I'll look for another strategy, right? And that's my risk tolerance. But, it's, if it works, great. If it doesn't, I tried it, right? And then I can go back and see where I failed and what could I do to make it better.
All right. We'll make sure we put this out to our Vegas people, and hopefully somebody in the Vegas network will find a deal to bring to you. Are you on social media? Are you accessible? How do people find you?
It's I'm not a social media guy. I was telling Patrick the last time I used it was back in 2010. That's the last time I used Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. So, but now that I'm everything nowadays is all social media, so I'm getting back into LinkedIn and Facebook. That's it.
Okay.
And Instagram, I have to redo my Instagram, but
Okay. Do you have the handles for those, the LinkedIn and the Facebook yet, or no?
yeah, I have the LinkedIn already. I That's the main one that I gear to because it's more business minded, right? For the people that are on LinkedIn. But it's like everything. You get your pirates, you get your people that just the trolls, so what they call, so yeah.
All right. We'll throw the link in the description. We'll get that out there
Sure.
for you.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that would conclude our episode. No, Mark.
yeah, Jerry. Hey, this was great. I really appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions. Any last thoughts? Anything you'd want to leave for our audience? Anything to remember you by? Any quick piece of
Yeah,
advice?
absolutely. We're all looking for the freedom, for the passive income. The one thing that I can tell you is never give up and don't quit ever, 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 and be confident, be positive, and get surrounded with like-minded people. And you get to know that right away who's going to be your good circle and who's not.
That's awesome.
Well,
Those are
I
great-
want to thank
great
everybody
thoughts.
for watching the show. My name is Patrick. You can find me on Instagram at patrick.felt and on Facebook, Patrick Felt with my mugshot.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.